All right. How do you pronounce your name, Jared? Your last name?
Inouye. So
Inouye.
it's like annoy, like annoying, but just add a it on the front of it instead of so Inouye.
Okay, cool. So you were caught in an avalanche on Mount Superior last Friday. Um, can you
That's
go ahead and just tell me about the events leading up to that and then during?
sure. So we got a lot of snow that week on Wednesday and Thursday, probably 2 feet of new snow. So there was some powder fever going on. There were probably, I mean, gosh, I would say probably 30 people going to ski Superior that day. I skied Superior that morning, the north side.
Okay.
We were the first to ski the north side. Still there?
Yep.
Is there some lag?
Yeah, a little bit of lag, but there, got you back.
Okay. So my friend and I skied the north side. First tracks. It was stable. Felt good. It was awesome. Put a Skinner back in to the ridge and went to the summit again for the second time. And so we dropped the south face from the top to the road. Again, it was awesome.
Right.
And by the time we dropped to the south side, there'd probably been, I would say, 10 to 12 people that had skied it.
Mm.
And then when I got to the bottom, checked my phone and I saw that my brother and my uncle were headed up Superior. You know, they'd left probably about 20 minutes before I got there. So I called them up, told them that I would catch them, and headed up for a third time. And on the skin track going up the Superior Ridge, there's a point at what we call the Black Knob where you can go around it to the right on a skin track.
Okay.
Or you can go kind of over it. And so the party that I was trying to catch up to, they went over it, okay? And I went around it. And so by the time I popped out on the other side, I was ahead of them.
All right.
And so I looked up the booter. It pops out at a point where there's a short skin, and then it switches to a booter to the final summit, okay? And so I look up the booter and I don't see him. And so I call him, I say, hey, what's going on? And they said, oh, we're on top of the Black Knob and we're probably gonna drop from here. So I said, cool, you guys drop. I'll either go to the summit or I'll drop here and I'll just see you at the bottom.
Right.
So I thought about going to the top, and then I thought, well, I got other things to do. I've had a lot of skiing already. You know, it's not that much. I mean, the line right here has been skied a lot less than top, so I'll ski and should be good. Are you catching that?
Yeah, it was a little choppy, but you're back now. Gotcha.
Okay. So I dropped in, and the place where you drop in, where I dropped in, is kind of I wouldn't say it's a couloir, but it's definitely a convex gully area.
Okay.
And, you know, I know that that's an area that is a potential hazard. And I could see across the gully, there was a ridge, and the ridge looked good. And ridges, for me, are often a better choice because they're, you know, less risky.
Mm-hmm.
So my intent was to just kind of ski across the gully, jump on the ridge, and descend into the main superior line.
Yeah.
But as I was skiing across that convex gully area, I got knocked off balance. And I thought it felt like kind of vertigo. But as I was regaining my balance, I looked over to the side and I could see, a big crack in the crown. And I knew I was going to go for a ride at that point.
Yeah.
And, very, very quickly, I lost all ability to, kind of control. I was just kind of sucked in and along with this slab. So the slab, I didn't see the crown, but some others told me that they were up there later in the day, and they said that the crown was 18 to 24 inches. And then, it was probably 100 feet or so. So it's just basically this whole little bowl, this little mini bowl kind of pulled out, and I was right in this dead center of it. And so this massive snow then just kind of went on down the mountain, and I went with it. The total, I had it on my Strava, so I was able to see like where it started and where it ended. And I figured the total ride was about 2,200 vertical feet and about 3/4 of a mile. So along this route, there's a cliff band, and then there's this rocky gully.
Yeah.
And there's this it's a rock choke basically. And so having now looked at it and seen it, I can kind of remember.
Hold on 1 second.
I was just in the air, free falling, kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, and just kind of hoping that basically my life wouldn't end on impact.
That was after you went over the cliff?
Well, that was as I was going over the cliffs. So I'm falling down, and I'm basically free falling over some of these areas. And I don't know, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that there were probably a series of falls where I was falling probably, at least 100 feet at a time.
Wow.
And then landing and then doing it all over again. And like, it's completely incomprehensible to me how I got through this rock choke without, bashing my head or breaking a bone or anything. Okay. But I did.
You weren't injured at all, were you?
What's that? Were
you injured at all?
No. Well, I got a little scratch right on my head.
Okay.
Can't even see it.
That's
But it was nothing. And so looking at Strava, going through those areas, the cliff band and the choke, it was around those areas where I got going 77.2 miles an hour.
Wow.
So after I got to the cliffs, I felt things kind of smooth out. I was still moving, but my problem after the cliffs, I was kind of surprised I made it through that area and still conscious. And when I did, I thought, well, I've got a chance, right? But then after that, the problem was burial. And, it was completely dark. I didn't know which way was up. And I'm just being turned in this massive snow. And when that happens, sometimes you're on top and sometimes you're on bottom. And, when I was on bottom, it was like super heavy, like almost like you're gonna get crushed. And then it would kind of lighten up. And there was one time only when I remember seeing blue sky and white snow below me. So there was one time when my head actually kind of popped up above it all. And so during this probably, really, it was only probably a 30-second period I'm fighting to surface so I don't get buried. Over and just trying to orientate myself. And as the train kind of slowed down, it was pretty scary because I was thinking, if this stops and I'm buried, then I'm gonna die because I'm alone and no one's gonna find me. And so, I just hoping that there was some way that when it stopped, I wouldn't be totally buried.
Yeah.
And luckily, when I did stop, I could see light. So I could see the surface. Okay.
You're the top.
Well, I wasn't. I was fully buried.
Okay.
But I could see through the snow. I could see light. Okay. And then there was like kind of a second wave, and that kind of dimmed the light a little bit.
Ooh.
And so I thought, oh no, there may be another wave coming, but that never came. Okay. So I'm buried. I can right here.
Could you repeat that last part? Sorry, you're breaking up just a little bit.
Yeah, so
buried.
So I'm stopped. The train is stopped. I'm buried, but right here I can see some light. Okay, so about probably 10 inches to a foot away from my face, I can see where the surface is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I move my head kind of back and forth, and that kind of created some space. And my right arm was still attached to one of my ski poles, and so I couldn't move it very well. But my left arm, I was able to it was pinned, but I was able to eventually work it up to so where I could push like this, and I pushed through the surface.
Wow.
And so after I pushed through the surface and cleared some space for me to just kind of breathe, at that point I knew I was going to probably be okay. That was a huge relief.
Right.
I mean, I was very surprised that way. So I just lay there and kind of caught my breath and kind of gathered my wits, took kind of a physical inventory. And then I just kind of had a crazy fit moment where I tried to squirm out. And just kind of moving and just, it created space so that I could eventually just kind of army crawl out, basically.
So you weren't in need of being dug out. You were able to wiggle yourself out after you punched your arm through, and you did you ski down afterwards?
No, my skis were long gone. So my pack, one of my straps on my pack had ripped off. And so my pack was kind of dangling out here, and I had a ski pole that was still in my hand. And that made it a little bit hard to get out of the hole. But once I got those things loose, I pop out of the hole, I look around. I was concerned that it may have buried other skiers because the slide path covered probably 20 tracks.
Wow.
But I wasn't really in a position to go and do, a beacon search or rescue. So I just stood there for a while.
Yeah.
Called my brother, and then I just walked to the road. So that was, so the slide path hit the slide path went probably within probably a quarter mile of the road. So
Okay. What time did this slide happen?
it was about 10:30.
About 10:30 in the morning. Okay. I was actually skiing across from Superior that day, and I saw that slide path.
Okay.
It was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't believe that's you.
Awesome.
Wow, man. I'm glad you're all right.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a crazy story. Looking back, do you think there was any red flags that you might have missed that, or like what they might have been, or was it something that took you completely by surprise?
Well, it did take me completely by
Naturally.
surprise, but that's because I ignored, things that I should have taken
Okay. Come on.
into account. It didn't need to be solo.
Right.
Yeah, I chose to be solo. My brother, if I would have just taken a 5-minute detour, I could have joined up with my brother, and we could have skied down together. But instead, and both my brother and my uncle, who he was with, both of them are doctors.
Yeah.
So, they have good training. They would have been able to help me had I been hurt, But instead, I just dropped it myself, and partly because it was an untracked line.
Yeah.
And it looked really good. And the reason why I felt that confident is because it's an area that I just ski a lot. And not only that, I had skied it twice that morning.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking it's been fine. Chances are not high. And so I'm just going to ski it. But I should have made a better effort to not be solo. I didn't need to drop in in this convex area. I could have hiked up a little further above the convex area and dropped in on the ridge, and that would have been a lot safer.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing that I should have taken into account that I didn't is there was an avalanche in Cardiff that happened right as I watched that avalanche happen. But I know that area slides a lot. I see that slide all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't compute in my mind that the slide in Cardiff was a signal that Superior would also behave that way.
Yeah.
In other words, that should have been a red flag to me, but I just disregarded it. So
sounds like you've learned a lot from this experience.
Well, no, there are a lot of things that I could have paid attention to, but I didn't. So
yeah. Yeah, sometimes hindsight like that gives the most clarity. It's weird.
Yeah.
Do you have a message for any of the backcountry users right now from your experience, from your learnings? Or like anything you would tell?
Did you see the video that I put on Instagram after I did my report?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's one message.
Okay.
And I think the reason I posted my experience is I just want people to understand that skiing is all good until you're about to die.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I mean, skiing is all good until you're just in an avalanche and you're faced with this prospect of departing. In other words, I think that it's easy to get caught up in the fun of it all. And as someone who has experienced the consequence of an avalanche, I just hope that people will, I just hope that that will somehow translate to them so that they make better choices.
Right.
So
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing, Jared. I'm sure that's not easy to talk about with as recent as it was and how terrifying that might have been. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with me and share the events that happened that day.
sure, no problem.
Hopefully it inspires some safer decision making for other people in the backcountry, especially right now.
Okay.